Discover the hidden Israelite ancestry of some of the most powerful nations on earth. Watch as Scripture unveils the terrifying future of America and Great Britain as revealed through the Sabbatical and Jubilee years. Discover the identity of Assyria and its role in this final Jubilee cycle. Learn of the pending judgments that are to be soon poured out as a result of transgressing the sabbatical years. Sighted Moon. For articles, videos, and updates, visit sightedmoon.com.
We're all excited about the economics, so we're going to show you the economic side of things here. And we're going to look at the stock market ups and downs throughout history. Well, at least the last 300 years. So we got booms, panic, recessions, depressions, and they're all in relation to the Sabbatical and Jubilee years. According to Rabbi Kahn, that proves when the sabbatical year is. We can all go home now. But is that proof? Remember I told you about Wacholder and Zuckerman, Schur, and Marcus leaving out evidence to draw on what they do see backing up their proof. So let's start here. Here is the, now can you see those dates in the bottom? Yeah, 1791, you see them? Okay, so 1791 is the beginning of our study period. That's as far back as I was able to get for these economic booms and recessions and depressions and panics. The years in yellow, the columns lined up in yellow are me that I've scratched in when the Sabbatical and Jubilee years are according to the reckoning of 2 Kings 19:29. So, the year before a sabbatical year is 1791, 1792 is a sabbatical year, and the year after you see a depression. That's because France and England went to war. Rabbi Kahn says sabbatical year is a year of depression or recession or panic. But this doesn't agree with them. Even if we got the wrong sabbatical year and Rabbi Kahn's got the right sabbatical year, it still doesn't agree with them. The recession came after the sabbatical year. Okay, well, let's keep looking. We go up to 1799, that's a 49th year, followed by a Jubilee year. But the French hostilities had continued. Now war produces prosperity. That's why the economy goes up there. Then the war starts up again. I believe these are the Napoleonic War. No, they're before that. The recession starts 2 years, actually 3 years, because it starts at the top of the seaborne commerce prosperity. That's when the recession starts, 3 years before the 49th year. And it continues down and goes into a depression recession. Then the 49th year comes along, and they're coming out of the recession, going into the 50th year, and the 50th year is a boom. The Jubilee year. Okay? Now, the sabbatical year is supposed to have a depression. So the Peace of Amens is a depression in the middle of a cycle. Not the year before, not the year after, not the during a sabbatical year. It's in the middle. It doesn't make sense. What gives? Why? Okay, so then we come to the maritime commerce prosperity. And we're going to go through this fairly quick. You know, we have this on the website in the detail. It's called the Wall Street Waltz. And you can look it up there for all the details of all these economic booms and waltzes. So the maritime commerce prosperity is a boom. The year before, actually 2 years before, and the year after, and the year during a sabbatical year. That's 1806. That does not fit the theory being purported by the people of the Shmitah. Not by a long shot. We're going to keep that out of our presentation because it doesn't fit. Now we have the embargo depression in 1806. No, 1808. Well, my print's pretty small here for me to read. But it started the year after the recession, the sabbatical year. because it starts at the top of the other side and keeps on going down. But there's no sabbatical year during that time. Yet it's a major depression. Okay? Then we have a boom. Then we have the War of 1812. In the War of 1812, all the Canadians stand up here. James and I are Canadian. All the wannabe Canadians, put up your hands. We got a couple over here, all right. 3, all right. Canada was the only nation in the history of the United States to ever successfully invade the United States and burn down the White House. Go Canada. That was the War of 1812. And they actually came down from Toronto way through Niagara Falls, walked down. We just walked. Anyway, that's just a side note. I just thought I'd throw that in because I'm down here in the States. The War of 1812, it starts the year before, goes through the war, the sabbatical year of 1813, and continues the year after. This one fits Rabbi Kahn's teaching. Why doesn't he use this one? Because then he would have to use all of them. So this one matches his teaching. We have a boom during the prosperity after the war. Then we have another post-war depression. And that starts the year before the sabbatical year of 1820 and goes through the sabbatical year and lasts to the year after. That one also could be used for Rabbi Kahn and match his teaching. Again, if we do, we got to use them all. You cannot just cherry pick here. So now we come to the secondary post-war depression. This post-war depression is still in relation to the War of 1812. And we had a little era of good feeling, and then we come into a mediocre depression that lasts for a number of years. It started the year before, goes through the sabbatical year, and lasts 2 years after the sabbatical year. 1834. In the year before, we are in a boom. Right? 1833 is a boom year. The year of 1834, the sabbatical year, is a depression year. This one doesn't fit Rabbi Kahn, so he doesn't use it. The year after, we start going up into a boom, the bank credit land boom. Then we have the panic of 1837, major panic. Look how straight down that line goes from the credit land boom, straight down. There's no sabbatical year there. Sabbatical years, according to some people, are supposed to be depressions, or it's not here. It doesn't fit. The next one is the debt repudiation depression. It starts actually 2 years before at the cotton boom. After the cotton boom, it starts going down, keeps going down, so that's 2 years before the sabbatical year. It goes, during the sabbatical year, it starts to come up a little bit, and then it crashes again on the other side. Okay, you're seeing this? It's fairly simple. Then we have the American-Mexican War. That was, and this is, the only incident I have of a 49th year and a 50th year going into recession. Every other Jubilee year period is a boom year. If you want to invest in the years before the 49th year. You'll make a killing. So now we come to 1855. There's a minor recession the year before, and then in the sabbatical year starts to boom again. Then we have the panic of 1857. No sabbatical year there. It should be, according to some people's theory. There's not. Then we have a depression, the 1861. This is caused by your American Civil War. It started in 2 years before, at the peak of 1860, goes down, goes into the sabbatical year, and then by the end of the sabbatical year, we're on our way out. You can stretch that one to be part of what Rabbi Kahn is saying. You have to stretch it a bit. Then we have the primary post-war depression. No sabbatical year. Why? Doesn't fit the theory. Then we come up to 1869. We have a boom starting the year before, a boom during the sabbatical year, and at the end of the sabbatical year, it peters off and then has these are small booms, small economic growth cycles. Doesn't fit the theory. So we were not going to use it, right? Now we move into the second post-war depression, major depression after the Civil War. Started 2 years before the sabbatical year, not the year before. Lasts for 3 years after. Doesn't fit this theory that's being purported today. Then we have the gold resumption prosperity during the 1880s. And before the sabbatical year, during the sabbatical year was boom, and then at the end of the sabbatical year, it peters off and goes into a depression of 1884. Okay? Again, it does not fit the theory. Then we have the Bering crisis and the railroad prosperity. The railroad prosperity is before and during the sabbatical year. The Bering crisis is a small depression right after the sabbatical year, but then it immediately goes back into a boom. Now we're up to 1897, and we have a depression coming off of 1895, going down the year before the sabbatical year, the 49th year. Into the 49th year, depression, coming out of it in the 50th year, and then we go into a boom, a Jubilee year boom. That one could be used for today's teaching of the Shmitah. Then we have the rich man's panic, the year halfway through the year before, during the sabbatical year. Again, that one could be used. Then we have another one, the panic of 1907, that doesn't fit anyone's teaching. Okay? Then we have the next one, 1911, starting the year before. It could fit the teaching today. Examine all the facts and weigh them out. I'm not afraid to look at all the facts. Here we have World War I. Boom times 1916, 1917, and 1918. The years before and during the sabbatical year. After World War I, we have a major depression, 1920. No sabbatical year. Doesn't fit the theory. Then we go into an economic boom up to 1925. Boom years. Small depression the year before, then boom after that. Oh yeah, there's a little line there, the 1933, 32. That's the next sabbatical year. Stock market crashed, 1929. That was 2 years, 1, 2, 3 years before the sabbatical year. Does not fit the theory of people today. Then you have the post-war boom, or the post-depression boom in 1939, leading up into the war years. The war years are a boom cycle. So that depression continued through our sabbatical cycle of 1939. Then we come to the 49th year, small recession, and then an economic boom. Small boom, still a boom. The Korean War, economic boom, no recession. The recession comes a year after the sabbatical year. Then we come up to the pre-Vietnam War years. Vietnam War years, economic boom. The sabbatical year, 1960, had a boom going on, no recession. Towards the end of the sabbatical year, a recession came on. 1967, right? What happened in 1967? I think there's a tetrad after the 6-Day War or something. After the fact. Doesn't count. But there's a boom going on before and during and after. 1974, another sabbatical year. A boom going on the year before and during the sabbatical year, and depression comes afterwards. That's the oil crisis. So that's about the end of those charts. Now we come to the year 1981. It was a sabbatical year, 1981, 1982. After that is the year, sabbatical year in 1988, 1989. And again, we have a recession year. And these are the 2 years that Rabbi Kahn has used for his charts and his books. But we come up to the next one, the next recessionary year of 1990-91. Because it's not a sabbatical year, we don't include it in our teachings. At least that's what Rabbi Kahn chose to do. He chose to ignore this one. Then we come to 1995, 1996, another sabbatical year, but also the Jubilee year followed that. And we're in an economic boom. Jubilees are proving to be boom years. So now we come to 2002, 2003, the next sabbatical year. When did 9/11 happen? 6 months before the sabbatical year began in 2002 at Aviv. 9/11 was my wake-up call. I knew something was going on, I just didn't know what it was. That's when I came back to church. But the sabbatical year is when the recession started, not in 2001. Now we come to 2008. When did the recession start in 2008? It didn't. It started at the end of 2007. You see how it starts at the top? That's when it starts coming down. It took a year to get there. The sabbatical year was Aviv 2009, 2010. Those were boom times coming out of the recession. If you watch the chronological order of prophecies on the DVD that I did with the Prophecy Club, where I spoke here in Harrisburg and in Lancaster, I was already telling you that the economy was about to go tank. How did I know the economy was going to go bankrupt? Because your borrowing had exceeded your ability to pay it back by billions, by trillions. I looked at that as but I also looked at Sabbatical Jubilees. I seen a pattern, but it wasn't a concise pattern. Here we are in 2015. Okay? That is up to the end of July. Actually, you can't see it. It's to the end of August. But it keeps on going down. That's the big 1,000-point crash we just had. But it started back in February, March. Do you see that? So, what does all this mean? What does all this prove? Why did I want to show you this? Because you got to have all the facts before you start spewing off your mouth. Out of 32 sabbatical cycles, since 1792, we have 17 recessions, depressions, or panics starting the year before the sabbatical year. A total of 53%. Out of 32 sabbatical cycles since 1792, we have 18 recessions starting during and continuing into the sabbatical year from the years before. A total of 56%. Out of 32 sabbatical cycles since 1792, we have 11 recessions, depressions, or panics starting the year after the sabbatical year, for a total of 34%. We also have 12 boom years during the sabbatical and jubilee years, for a total of 37%. 5 jubilee years with boom years, and 1 with a recession, for a total of 80%. So the conclusion is 50-50 as to whether or not there's going to be a depression, recession, panic the year before or during a sabbatical year or the year after. Flip a coin. That's the same odds that you're talking about. And I've just shown you that. Does anyone not see what does anyone disagree with what I just presented to you? Okay, so should we get all hyped up about this year and the sabbatical year and the blood moons? Or should we look at this rationally and look at it biblically throughout history? What is the pattern throughout history? Flip a coin. I just don't know. If this is a recession, this stock market crash is going into a recession or depression. Maybe it's going into a boom. Heads. And that's why I've been silent about it, because I can't decide. Right? But some people take 2 years, 1981, 1987, or 88. We have a pattern. I've just shown you the pattern that we have records of for the last 200, since 1792, whatever that is. Okay, so 50-50 chance of being right whichever year you pick to be in the next recession or depression. That's not, and I didn't even count the ones in between that aren't related to sabbatical years. What do we have, about 4 or 5 of them? Nobody's counting them. We should count them. At the end of every 7th year, you shall make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every man who has a loan to his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it from his neighbor or from his brother, because it is called Jehovah's release. You may exact it from a foreigner, but your hand shall release that which is yours with your brother, except when there shall be no poor among you. And when we have no poor, you don't have to do this anymore. For Jehovah shall greatly bless you in the land which Jehovah your God gives you for an inheritance to possess. So like I told you this morning, I did this. I didn't like it. I did it reluctantly, and I got blessed tremendously.
Sighted Moon.